Hi, Yoko.
Hi.
I
I,
All right.
I can see there some people joining. Let's just wait for another minute. Yeah, Ben is joining also. Hi, everyone that's joining. We'll just wait a couple of minutes to allow everyone to join. We had actually a lot of registrations, which is really nice. And then we'll kick off in a few seconds.
so maybe I can start sharing when we start, no?
Yeah, if you'd like to maybe already pull up the first slide.
Yeah. Okay.
We just wait another minute and then we can kick off because also we will share the recording, right? So in case people miss a little bit of the introductions, they can always go back to the Knowledge Hub and check the recording.
Perfect. Okay. So we see a few more people joining. So if you're just joining, welcome. Thank you for joining. We'll give it a few more seconds to wait for a few more people to join and get settled. And we'll start in our session shortly.
One is comfortable getting a coffee, taking the time to join our session today.
Yeah, depending on where people are, which
Yeah.
time zone. This is either late in the afternoon or early in the morning, maybe for some. So yeah, winding down with some tea or early in the morning with a strong coffee.
You decide how much caffeine you need based on what time of day it is.
Yeah, I got my water with me.
Yeah, me too. Too late for coffee, I think.
That depends. That depends on yeah, different people have different philosophy on the latest of the day when you're allowed to get caffeine. Okay. Are we good to start?
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Welcome to our webinar today, hosted by HRS and the HRS Green Stay program on sustainability reporting and standard trends and opportunities for hotels. We're really excited to see great interest in this topic. And as you can see in the title, we want to discuss sustainability, obviously what's happening in this theme, why this matters now, but also we want to share some ideas that this is not only a business imperative, but also great opportunities. We hope that a lot of you will come out of this session thinking this is a great opportunity that you want to get engaged in. So let me introduce our panel and get started with our program. To start, my name is Ayako Izaki. I'm really excited to be moderating this session. I'm a trainer and consultant focused on sustainability in travel and tourism. I've had the pleasure of working with Fabio and his team on Green Stay, focused on knowledge. So this is a part of HRS's great efforts, I think, an initiative helping hotels become more familiar with and receive tools to get engaged in sustainability through Green Stay, which we're going to learn more about today. As you can see on the screen, the first presenter, or one of the presenters that we have the honor to be joined today is Professor Xavier Font, who is a professor at University of Surrey in the UK, also editor-in-chief of the Journal of Sustainable Tourism, among many hats that Xavier wears. And I think that if any of you engaged in sustainable tourism, sustainability, and hospitality, you're most likely already familiar with Xavier and his work. We're really excited to be able to learn a little bit from his insights in this area related to sustainability, specifically for hotels and opportunities for hotels. We also have Benjamin, who I'm really, really excited to be able to say is based in his hotel, which is a great example of sustainability, leading with sustainability in many different ways. is based in the city where I live now. So we're a bit of a neighbor, which I'm really excited to be able to say. I'm proud of the city that has this great example. And of course, Ben and his hotel, Hotel Louise, is a part of Greenstay, has been showing great leadership in terms of sustainability action. So today we have an opportunity to really learn from the perspective of a hotel, practical insights into sustainability actions. And Fabio, as many of you already know, is leading Greenstay. He's a researcher at heart, very enthusiastic about data, which I think fits very well to the Greenstay program with its really strong focus on transparency and data and communication and reporting. So today we will start off our panel discussion, which we hope will be a conversation also involving questions from you, the audience, about this theme. But Fabio will kick off our conversation with some more information on Greenstay and what it does. Before we do so, just a few reminders. For those of you who are listening in, please use the Q&A function on Zoom to share your questions. We will have some time later on to address your questions. As usual, the recording and the slides will be shared with you afterwards. And if you have any additional questions about the program, about Greenstay, here's a great contact for you to get in touch for support requests and everything else. As mentioned, today you will learn a little bit more about Greenstay. We will be discussing some bigger picture insights and relevant ideas for you, hotels, in this space related to sustainability and sustainability reporting. We'll have a great opportunity again to learn more from Hotel Louise as well. Before we start with our panel and Fabio's presentation, we have a question for those of you who are live in this webinar to start with, to get a little bit of a sense of who's in the room. So our question is related to, well, in this case, specifically related to the EU Green Claims Directive. But I think in general, regulations and upcoming pressures and so on in the sustainability space has been in discussion for a lot of us recently. So we're hearing a lot about these things. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you feel confident that your hotel is prepared to meet these current and upcoming requirements? So here's a question. You should be able to see the poll pop up for you. Please select one. Yes, not yet.
Yeah. Coming
No.
up.
I'm not sure. I hope that works.
Yeah.
Are you able to see Fabio? Okay,
I'm
perfect.
able to see it. Yeah. So we have basically half of the group answering. So still coming up. I'll wait just a little bit more so people can.
Yeah. And then you can show the results, huh?
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
But I feel the answer that is getting the most replies, of course, makes sense because it's basically where all of
Okay.
us are. So
Good.
I'm just going to share
Yes.
the results now. Can you see the results?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So not yet, but we're working on it. So that's great. That's basically where we are and why we want to carry out this kind of conversation, right? But of course, if you're not sure or if you haven't done much about it, it's also okay. We're going to learn a little bit how to engage with that, how, of course, Greenstay can support those starting the journey as well.
And speaking of that, so we would like to hear from Fabio and learn a little bit more about Greenstay. I think many of you are already familiar, especially if you've already been working with HRS, but just a little bit of background of what is Greenstay, and also importantly, how does it support hotels? So Fabio, over to you.
I'm going to try to be very brief because we have very special guests today, and I just want to do a quick recap on what we are doing with GreenStay and where basically things are heading. Because I would say most of the people invited might already know what we're doing, but some are just starting the sustainability journey, so it's important to have this quick recap. So GreenStay is the, as we call it, the only certified global framework to collect and normalize property level sustainability data of hotels and meeting spaces. And this edition of ISO certified is something that we achieved last year. And what that essentially means is that HRS has decided to develop a proprietary solution, right, to collect, normalize, and distribute sustainability data in the property level, leveraging the almost 50 years of experience we have with this collaboration with hotels and the huge database that we created. And last year, we also went through an auditing process very in detail to really verify the steps that we have introduced to collect the data and to calculate the CO2 footprint of our hotel partners. And of course, this is important because for our customers, right, our mutual customers, they need this data to make decisions, but also they need this for our topic of today to comply with regulations that are coming from different places of the world, but specifically from the European Union. And also what we essentially try to do with GreenStay is not to reinvent the wheel, right? So essentially what we developed is a solution to enable hotels to join the program depending where they are in their sustainability journey. So you could be, for example, in the basic level, which is the entry level for GreenStay. And this is aligned, for example, with what already has been developed by the WTTC with the Hotel Sustainability Basics. So you might already have achieved the certification with WTTC or started in this process, and we basically align with this framework. And then maybe you join as basic, and then a year after, or if you already have some sort of certification or your calculator, your energy consumption, you can go to the advanced level where we have a qualitative assessment and the footprint assessment, which is the heart of GreenStay, where we collect carbon, water, and waste data. And ultimately where we essentially want to be as an industry is in the professional level, where we collect even more granular data on the qualitative assessment with up to 80 criteria, the footprint assessment, and also require an external verification. So essentially this enables us to open the possibility of hotels to join in whatever level they feel more comfortable with and share with our mutual customers also their sustainability efforts. And of course, if you have a certification, this is something that we also collect and make available to our customers. And something I just wanted to quickly recap is also last year we released a State of Sustainability report, so a State of Sustainability Corporate Travel report, where leveraging the fact that we built this huge database, with your contribution, with the fact that a lot of hotels have joined GreenStay in the past, we can look at the data and see, okay, is our collective effort actually driving results, right? And we see that actually, yes. So for example, for our top expanding customers, they are prioritizing GreenStay properties, meaning that they are actually setting requirements for the RFPs and focusing on those hotels that can help them also on their net zero journey. So we saw that when comparing 2024, the first half of 2024 and 2023 last year, we saw that more room nights were going to GreenStay hotels, so 35% more room nights, which means that in this period of comparison that we did, 53% of our room nights were being booked at GreenStay hotels. And out of those room nights, essentially 71% of hotels were considered what we call high performance. And with that, I just want to also talk a little bit about what we consider as high performance, because last year we also introduced a new feature to help our mutual customers identify those hotels that have joined GreenStay and are actually driving emissions reduction. So that would be the case of Ben, for example, with this hotel. And we just thought about how we can further help travel managers make decisions based on the fact that we have so many hotels already in this journey of reducing emissions. So that's what we call GreenStay Champion. And these are hotels that are in the advanced or professional level, and they have a score of 7 to 10. So that means that in the GreenStay score, we are balancing the performance within the footprint assessment and also all those qualitative criteria. And we can see that these hotels are actually having a high performance. And of course, the travel managers then have an easier, let's say, view to select those hotels as much as possible, and also see, for example, within the hotel program, how many hotels are driving emissions reductions, how many are maybe on the way to get there, and how many still need to move, for example, from basic to advanced. And that is important also from the discussion that we want to drive today, because all of these claims, for example, whether a hotel is a climate positive hotel, as a Venice hotel, or a Green State champion, or if you are able to show that you are reducing emissions, this is important for corporate customers to prepare their compliance strategy, right? Because we have now essentially this shift that for many years sustainability was something voluntary, now to something that is mandatory. And in that, of course, we see more pressure on the one hand, but also we see more opportunities also. So as we mentioned, like we see more room nights going to Green State hotels, and now we have this group of Green State champions. So what does that mean for the hotels, right? And also, when we were organizing this webinar, it was right on the same period that the discussions in the European Union, if you are familiar with the omnibus discussions of simplification of this regulatory framework that we're talking about, were happening. So by the time we organized the webinar, we had basically more clarity on what that means. And Xavier will bring a little bit more light into this topic, but essentially what we see is that regardless of whether we will see the European Union Parliament accepting those simplification measures, we will still see that companies will always look for reliable means of measuring and reporting on emissions, okay? Because a lot of them have already started in this journey. So we have the examples of Siemens, Telecom, Sanofi. So if you see how these companies have been dealing with the RFPs over the years, it's unlikely that they're going to change the way they're placing sustainability as part of their strategy. So even if we see some companies going out of scope, for example, CSRD, that doesn't mean that the companies will stop looking at sustainability, right? And they will always look for reliable ways to measure the emissions, reduce the emissions, and then ultimately compensate. But that's for me for my introduction. This is just a little bit food for thought for our discussion, Xavier and Ben. And just wanted to know from your side, Xavier, what are you seeing at this particular moment, right? Because we have a new geopolitical scenario with pushbacks in many fronts, one of them is sustainability, right? Be it at the US with a stronger pushback, but also in the European Union with these discussions of simplification of the regulations that have been basically designed and are in process of being implemented in the European Union. So I just wanted to know a little bit of your perspective on this.
Yeah, good. Thanks to have you. That's a very helpful introduction, isn't it? I find that this kind of uncertainty is paralyzing. So not really knowing what will happen with Green Claims Directive, or whether it's going to go the same way as CSRD, where the first one all comes blazing, and then suddenly, or at the last minute, after people have invested a lot of time, they say, well, actually, it's going to be softer than expected. Essentially, we're just going to give you a bit more time because we don't think it's ready. So it's not going away, but they're just giving you more time. So it's quite possible the same thing will happen with Green Claims Directive. Even if you're preparing a lot for Green Claims Directive now, you still don't know which certification programs will meet the standards, which ones won't. And so if I was as a company now, I would just look at this almost from a risk assessment point of view and say, I know that I will have to perform higher and there'll have to be more transparency. I don't yet know what is going to be the framework I'll need to report to. And even if I am a small business, essentially I'm going to be distributing through online travel agents who will have to report. So, it may not affect me directly, it will affect me indirectly, unless I'm only able to sell direct to customers, but who can do that nowadays? Right. So chances are you're going to have to find a way of responding to the requirements of your distribution channels or your final consumer. And this is the case whether you are headquartered in Europe or not, because the chances are some of the OTAs you're working with will be based in Europe, or some of your consumers will be based in Europe. Now, if you are a small business, you may say, I just need to make sure I'm not the slowest gazelle. Right? They're going to be attacking the big businesses before they attack somebody like me. But you are still in the supply chain of some of those big businesses. So that as a starter. Linked to this, I would also say consumers are becoming very, very savvy about how you communicate your sustainability practices. So even if you say, I have a certification program, what I'm seeing with certification is a double-edged sword, right? Many businesses are using having a certification as a way of saying, hey, here it is. The certificate will do the talking for me. Absolutely no chance. Some of the research I've seen recently, and it will be published later on this year, is showing that consumers' perception of sustainability is negatively related to whether you're actually certified or not. Now, for those of you who are putting a lot of effort in certification, you're probably now taking a deep breath and thinking, holy shit, what am I going to do next? There are two key reasons for that in the research we've done. One is people perceive that a business that will be sustainable is more likely to be small, rural, family-run, offering produce that are local. They do not perceive that something is made with concrete and is large and is corporate could be sustainable. And yet those tend to be the businesses that have got the best chance of actually having the systems in place to be certified. The other thing that we're seeing is when you communicate, so which basically tells me, if you are certified, do not stop at having the certificate and say the certificate will do the talking. You now have the tools, you now have the way of validating to your customers that you're doing the right thing, but you still have to put the effort in to say what's in it for you as a customer. And what we've also seen is that if you're putting a lot of effort into communicating small practices, this is perceived by consumers as information overload, and information overload increases customers' skepticism of greenwashing, and this negatively affects people's willingness to book and to recommend the property. You may all remember the Booking.com Travel Sustainable Program. We did research on consumers' perceptions both in Germany and the UK. This was just published a few weeks ago in one of the tourism journals, and I was one of the authors of that paper. And we found that German and British consumers perceived that the information on Booking.com's Travel Sustainable Program was information overload. Now, many of the criteria you'll see consumers reporting on as a result of certification is a little bit along the same lines. The tongue-in-cheek joke I always give to people is some of the certification criteria that we are promoting on our website are really, really boring. They're as boring as me going on a dating website and saying, choose me because I brush my teeth, right? Hopefully, I will have a better thing to offer than that, right? But honestly, when you say, choose my hotel because I have 5 different types of recycling bins, are you for real? You know, like, do you think I'm going to leave my home, travel to a destination X and choose your accommodation as as opposed to somebody else because your carbon footprint per guest per night is lower, or because you have 5 different forms of recycling? Explain very, very clearly what's in it for me as a customer. Put the customer at the center of your sustainable experience design. And please stop communicating to consumers the way you communicate to the environmental auditors that came and audited whether you are WTTC Basics or Green Globe or Green Key or anything else, right? Consumers are normal people that want to have a good time when they go on holiday. You show them genuinely how this is going to give a better experience, you're in with a chance of making a sale. You talk to them like they're members of Amnesty International and Greenpeace at the same time, and you'll find there's a very small number of those people. And even those people, let's be honest, when they travel, they say, I've been good for 51 weeks of the year. This is the 1 week where I'm going to let my hair down, eat a bit more cheese, drink a bit more beer, have a bit more chocolate, and then when I go back home, I'm going to be a good boy again and make up for it, right? So I can see Ben, as somebody who's delivering the surveys, basically finding that there's this mismatch, right? You see the surveys time and time again, and they say 85% of consumers want to be green. Yes, of course. Those questionnaires are terrible, right? They're the same as somebody giving me a question and saying, Xavier, from 1 to 10, are you a good husband, yes or no? Don't ask me, ask my wife. Right? I mean, honestly, if you ask me, I'm going to say I'm a 9.5 all the way. I'm not going to say 10, but yeah, I'm a solid 9.5. Yeah, ask my wife, you'll get a different answer. Okay, so let's just be much more honest with the way in which we collect data. Let's be much more professional in the way we communicate sustainability practices. And then we're not going to be disappointed where consumers behave like normal people, as opposed to assuming that they've all been transformed by, an epiphany that we now will have to be sustainable and save planet Earth. But I'll leave it at that. I'll hand over to Ben. He was nodding, so hopefully we agreed on some of those matters. And then we can go back and together basically just kind of get our heads around, so what do we do differently? Ben, over to you.
Wow, thank you so much. Well, that was quite inspiring. So you put the measure quite high to perform for me now. But I agree with a lot of things you just said, and we try to actually work with this approach you're talking about, and I'll try to show some of these examples that we try to implement. So that's a kind of funny picture of two of my team colleagues, and what we try to say is that it's a lot of egoistic thinking right at the moment, and it's all me, and I want more. But we think we should be more eco and less ego, and try to save the world together. Because if we all do our thing just on our own, we're not gonna succeed. And I think it's of key importance that we work all together on the same issues. There are different ways to navigate to that goal, but all in all, we should not try to compete with each other for the same goal. So what we try to implement in our business is quite a lot of things. And to give you a perspective what that means, it's just some of the key facts. And it's actually not me that started the sustainable approach of the hotel. It was my parents' great idea, I think, back in the 80s. And yeah, I always said I'm not going to be as crazy as them. And to be honest, I'm a little bit more crazy now. So I'm the crazy of us, but I tend to love it. And I found a lot of ways that sustainability is just a lot of fun. And it's like reaching the next kind of level in your favorite game, basically. So a lot has changed since the hotel was founded back in 1956, and nowadays it is quite green for being a city hotel. And we try to basically be a little kind of forest within the city. And what we have started to share our ideas is that we developed the wall of change. The picture you can see just behind me and on the side as well is a physical wall that is hanging in our lobby. And every leaf that you can see there has one different sustainability project that we have done or that we are doing in the last years or now. And what you've seen just scrolling there is our digital wall of change, which is an own website where we share all these ideas. Because as I said, we don't think that everybody should do it on its own, but we want to share our ideas to make it as accessible as possible. Sorry about that. So just to give you some of these leaves and show you some of the ways that you can change your own business. And we had a lot of success with all of these. Basically, we have just an easy refill station in the lobby where you can refill your drinking water. Well, while this might not be the very special thing that you might think of, it starts the engagement with the guest. And what we experience is that you might see it on the picture that we used a real beer draft concept to draft your drink. And to be honest, especially to the people who like to drink beer, you would probably love it to draft your own beer. And so a lot of people go there and they're not even thirsty. They just want to drink some drinking water. And right on the side, we explain that this drinking water it's just a basic drinking water you can drink all over in Germany, just coming out of your tap or faucet. So it's an easy entry point to just get the guest engaged. But also there's easy ways, like if you have a renewable energy tariff from your electricity provider, that would change a lot and has great impact on your CO2 emissions. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to help with your guest relations, but it will definitely change your footprint and make you gives you an easy way to start. And of course, working with NGOs, supporting them, the local ones just round the corner, or even the bigger ones, they are happy to engage with you as a business or as a business owner and find new ways to accelerate. And we have the so-called pursuit of happiness projects, as we like to call them, because we think we try not to be the most sustainable hotel or the whatever most something, but our goal is to increase luck and happiness with all the peoples that engage with us. We want to be happier and we want everyone else to be happier. And I think happiness is a nice way of saying of redefining sustainability in some way. And especially in German language, you always tend to speak of sustainability in the same sentence as giving up something, just giving up fun, giving up happiness because you can't drive that car anymore, you can't eat that anymore. And that's not the approach you will be successful to change anyone's mind. So you need to create happy projects that create happiness. So we have a vending machine just for food and drinks, but we put that outside of our hotel to make it available for all our neighbors and people passing by. And we didn't want to have like the regular Coca-Cola and all these drinks, but we have organic drinks, local foods. We always have a vegan alternative in this vending machine. And all of the products are packaged in glass bottles and glass cups or jars. So we're not even using plastic there. And it's been a success from day one, and it's working quite well. And that is it might be an easy way to try to do that as well. But it comes to very easy things as well. So as I state here, fair fashion. We're working with the fashion brand Dedicated from Copenhagen, and we put our employees, we gave them like real good fair fashion clothing, and it changes something if you are able to wear stuff that is quite frankly rather expensive in the shops than regular clothing, and you can also promote it. And I think it's a quite a nice thing. You might recognize that if you wear something that you really cherish, that is a nice clothing, you feel just better. So it creates more happiness if you have just some good stuff to wear, basically. But then we have also the real green projects. As I said, we are in the middle of a city, and we have a lot of glass and concrete all around us. You might see it in the background of this picture. And so we try to counteract this kind of development. And because we had issues with a lot of heat and dry summers, we built our own little tiny forest. There are thousands of tiny forests all over the world now, and it's a really successful project. So if you have a little space, it can start from basically 5 square meters, but the best size would be around about 50 to 200 square meters of space. You can create a little tiny forest that has so many different kinds of positive impact that it is very quite successful. We've been in the media a lot with it. We are having like little educational talks about it. We had the whole city council come and look at it. And the nice thing for the guests is they don't look outside the window and see the other building on the other side, but they see a tiny forest, and they look into the forest and they see the animals. And it's quite amazing that on such a small space that you can have so much life and diversity. But also you can use the roofs, and if you're not using the roof for solar, you can use it just to give it some vegetation. It's great for the microclimate there. You can create new yeah, well-being islands. If you have, our terrace for the guests is on the rooftop, and we decided to give 1/3 to nature, and it changes the whole perception of this terrace. So it's not a yeah, a blank wooden terrace with a nice view, but it changes because you see so much life, you see the bees, you see the insects, and it changes the whole scenery. And basically quite an easy one is having honeybees on your lot. We have quite a few of them, and we just got delivered I think 60 kilograms of honey. So I'm not sure what to do with all this honey. We weren't able to use it all up in the last year, but it's a nice project. But don't just stick to honeybees. There's a lot of other bees and insects that should be supported, and there are a lot of ways which you can find on our wall of change, for example. Just doing a little bit of advertisement here. But the reason why we are somewhat known in the hotel sector for being sustainable is the other complex pilot projects that we engaged in. And one example is the check-in energy efficiency project, where we redeveloped and renovated a building. And by renovating it and putting on some energy efficient insulation and all that, we reduced our energy or power usage in that particular building by 80%. So it's not just a tiny bit, but it is a lot. And to be honest, we did that just before COVID and before the Ukraine war started. So we saved a lot of energy with that, and therefore we saved a lot of money because of all these crises. And the other thing is that is a greater experience for our guests is the so-called regrowing hotel room. On the picture, you can see that we took quite a lot of effort to design a hotel room, and we did that back in 2016. That is a cradle-to-cradle hotel room. So what does that mean? Basically, if you've never heard of cradle-to-cradle, it's a new approach of how products should be developed. Normal products or the standard products are developed cradle to grave. So basically they are built out of new resources, and at the end of the life cycle, they're usually burned or put on landfills and cannot be recycled in a way that it can become a real new product. It's usually called a downcycling. So the regular recycling process we have nowadays is more of a downcycling. So the quality of the resources degrades with time. So what we try to do is to build a hotel room that has products that are either 100% biodegradable, so they can go back to nature and put back into growing a new tree and maybe becoming a new hotel room. And we have other products that are 100% recyclable, but in a way that they can become the same product again and do not degrade over time. So basically, our carpets are made out of fishing nets. Thank you, Xavier. Our carpets are made out of recycled fishing nets, and they can be recycled again and again. And because the system is a carpet tile, you can change out one tile, and you don't have to rip out the whole carpet. And you can be a lot more versatile with it. But on the other hand, our ceilings are made out of compressed straw without any additives. So you can put it basically outside, give it some time, and it will become plain straw again. And actually a nice fun fact about this, we use some of our building materials, and usually it's illegal to bury your waste of a renovation in the garden, but we put the straw outside and we use it for our roses. So we actually used the rest of our building constructions for our plants in the garden. And by creating this in a way that it is well designed and it looks nice, we give the guests the opportunity to first experience a nice, clean, very in a way, luxurious hotel room. And in the second step, if they want to inform themselves to what is this bed? Why did I sleep so well in it? They can figure out that it is a lot sustainability that is the reason for that. And Xavier, you said something very nice with the guests that is they are sustainable 51 weeks of the year, and one time they are on holidays, they just want to enjoy themselves. So what we did here is I think quite a nice examples. We put in showers. They were developed and made in Sweden, and they were developed for the Mars mission for NASA, and they are so-called astronaut showers. So what happens is that when you shower, the water gets recycled in your own shower session, and you save 80% water, 90% energy. Why do you save so much energy? Because the water is still body temperature when it comes, when it leaves your body. So when it's recycled in that way, you don't have to heat it up from groundwater temperatures. And the nice thing about this is we can say, oh, we don't care. You can shower half an hour. That's fine. You're still more sustainable than if you shower at home. So that's a nice message, and you can enjoy and do whatever you want. And our slogan in the hotel basically is being able to sleep well, if I translate it from German. And it has two meanings in German. The one meaning is we try to do everything that you can sleep well. You have a good mattress, you have a nice room, but that's just one thing. The other thing is we want you to sleep well because you don't need to concern yourself about, is it okay that I enjoy my time here? Where does the meat come from? Where is this from? So in my personal opinion, having a good conscience in doing whatever you do, and like really thinking about what am I doing, and then still have a good conscience is one of the luxurious things you can have in our world today. Because if you really think about it, there's always something where you can say, well, I know it's not good, but it's just a lot of fun. And coming to us means you can do it, and it is a lot of fun, and you don't need to worry about anything. So, so this is our lobby, and you can feel free to visit us wherever you are, and take a look at this wall as well. But I just want to show you some further examples about it. So on the left side, we have this little token, and it is in German, but you may be able to read it in English on the bottom as well, depending on your screen size. But to make it short, it's a little coin that we put in every hotel room. And if you have some kind of clothing that you brought with yourself, and then you bought something new and you don't really need it anymore, or it does not make you happy anymore, you can leave it with us. And we hand it to NGOs, or we hand it to people that for them it creates happiness. And it's such an easy thing to do. Basically, you just need to create these coins, or maybe write it somewhere on a paper and put it in the room. And you find an NGO in your town or city, and they will pick up the clothes, or you can bring it to them. And it's just an easy way to create a new kind of circular way of reusing things. But also, you're seeing some of my employees with the umbrella. Just give the people that work with you a safe place, a safe working environment, and ensure that they don't need to worry about, oh, will I have my job next week and all that. It's just from my opinion, just some really basic thing to do, but it has a great impact. And as you can see, our vending machine in the background, we try to make it as accessible as possible and work with local companies to create a nice place there. And you can see Louis and Abid they are working at the front office, and what they are wearing is the fair fashion shirts I was talking about. And it creates just a nice and respectful environment for all of us. On the right side, you can see a close-up of one of our regrowing rooms, and the garden scene you can see there, it's called our recycling area, basically. It's difficult to translate again, but we used most of the materials used is recycled or reclaimed wood, and you can see the metal beams. They were used for our solar heating system, and the wooden beams used to be our old roof. And we created a nice outdoor space for our guests to have breakfast and try to use as many products that we already had somewhere lying around. And you can see on these kind of pictures that we see ourselves as a kind of test site for sustainability projects. And we try to do projects that might fail, and some of them have failed or never really took off. But it's a lot of fun. And I'm not even from the hotel industry when I started doing the business. So I'm more of a photographer, and I studied psychology and economics. So it's a completely different approach. But when people ask me, why do you do the hotel business, then I say it's a great playground, and you can experiment with all kind of things. And the great thing is you get real feedback right away, and it's a lot of fun. And so yeah, that is a standing invitation. If you have anything you want to try out and you need someone to do it, just let me know. Should be fine. Yeah, and another point that I find quite important to create this experience for our guests is you have to use all kind of ways to engage with the people. You need the digital engagement. You can see it on the right side right now. We have a chatbot that we trained on all our sustainability measures. So the AI bot can explain everything, but just having it digital is not the way to go in every part. And therefore we have our analog wall, like with real wooden leaves and all these things. But the most important thing is that you have your employees, and they know what you are doing in this hotel, and they can explain to our guests what's happening there. And by the way, creating this kind of wall of change and writing down all these measures that we took over the years also helped our employees to actually see and understand what we have done. Because before that, just my marketing team and me really knew all these kind of things, because you're not even able to show every employee 270 measures of sustainability. And if you put it on a list, it would just be quite boring. I'll jump over this. I think one key element is, in the end, you just got to walk the talk, and you need to be quite convinced in what you're doing. And if the CEO or the owner of the business is just having that certificate and that's it, and they don't really want to evolve their own business or their own personality when it comes to sustainability, then you're probably going to lose in the long run. And you just need to, yeah, live it and have fun with it. And you might take it from that picture that I'm burning for this kind of sustainability. And it resembles, you don't need to read it, and it's in German anyways, but when we started creating this wall and talking about our sustainability measurements, the reviews online changed quite a lot. From having maybe just 5 stars and not writing anything, guests start to engage, and they write what they like. So you get a lot of free marketing from guests that are just experience what you are doing in the hotel. And as I said, just copy and paste our ideas. Please don't take our logo. We want to keep that. But besides that, you can use quite a lot of these things and just try it on your own way. And I think it's like with art, all the great artists copied and pasted it from different other artists, and that's just fine. You just need to make it your own thing. Otherwise, it becomes greenwashing if you just take the same thing and don't really believe in it. So copy and paste makes it easier, but it's not always easy just by copying it. And yeah, that's basically the result if you just keep with it. And I'm pretty sure it's not just in Germany. You need good employees, and it's hard to find them. And once you find them, you should try your best to keep them. And being being a good company and being good to your people goes a long way with that. So let's be more egoistic together. Thank you so much for all the time, and just thank you for listening to me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Building on what you shared, Ben, we have a couple of questions as well, but I have a burning question. This is a question to all of you on the panel. Importantly, I think one of the advantages that you have at Hotel Louisa, Ben, is that you have sort of the legacy of sustainability commitment that comes from the previous generation and so on. And so it comes naturally to you, as we can all see. And I think maybe many of the hotels that are represented in the audience may not necessarily share that level of the background. But you've demonstrated, regardless of that kind of background, I think the advantage or the benefits to the business of engaging in sustainability, whether it's about customers review, happy employees, which absolutely is important to business, reputation, and even cost saving, I think, right, because of energy and water and so on. So I want to connect that to the question that we have related to opportunities for hotels. So is it worth it? If some of the hotels are not necessarily seeing that this is something that is an opportunity for them, maybe they don't have that kind of background as you do at Hotel Louisa. How might you address that question? Is it worth it for hotels to get started on getting engaged, become more active in sustainability from the various perspectives that you might all have, Fabio, Xavier, as well?
But to me, the certification is a little bit like when you go to the doctors and the doctor has some diplomas on the wall, or the doctor chooses to wear a white coat. It gives a sense of authority, but essentially it's not a diploma what the customer is buying or the patient is buying. You're just using the diploma as a way of saying, what I'm going to tell you now, you can trust it. Okay, so it's almost like a proof point. So by all means, work with certification providers, take the advice of people who will come and give audits, whether they're paid or whether they're free, depending on the country you happen to be in. But don't just assume that because you've achieved a certain number of things, they will now communicate by themselves, or the customer will find them interesting. You need to try to put yourself in the shoes of a customer and then understand if this generally improves the customer experience, at what point in the customer journey can I communicate it? I don't communicate everything at the beginning of your website. Think about how do I provide information at a certain point in time to the customer that will help my customer take the next decision that they needed to take anyway. So communicating information that is not relevant to the customer needs, or is communicated at a point when it's not exactly helpful, can only create frustration. You have to really think about when will you communicate it. And even if you were a company like Hotel Louisa, where you'd have 200 things to communicate, then you have to think about how do I communicate it and what purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And it's quite difficult, especially if you have so many measurements. So that's why we have these projects just on the wall. But one of the great results that we've seen with other hotels connecting with us is that a lot of them told us, well, we looked at your wall of change and we figured that we have at least 30 or 40 of these projects. We done that already. And that creates a sense of motivation and inspiration, because a lot of people think we're not doing anything right now, so we need to get started. But most of the companies started in some way already, but by just it becoming just business as usual, you tend to forget that these little steps are worth telling when you have the right situation for it as well. And I think I know I've learned it from my parents, and I've grown into all these kind of sustainability things, but once you've started, and I can see it with a lot of employees that came to us with no sustainability background or not even being particularly interested in it, that they have changed their whole perspective, and some of them are kind of looking for the next thing that they can do, and they are getting creative. And I'm quite sure that in most companies you have people with that potential, and you just need to give them the opportunity to use their potential to find some kind of sustainability measurements to put them in place. And the second step then is, as you said quite right, is to find a certification and just start with it and see where you go from there. You need to live sustainability with the mindset that it's more than just a certification, but what the certification does, and that's why we are doing it as well, quite a few in the past as well, is that it shows or it displays where we are standing right now and where are the areas where we can improve, because you're never gonna finish, you're never gonna reach the ultimate goal. But what you can see is, oh yeah, our water usage, it has changed over the last 2 years. So what have we done? Why has it become worse? What can we change to improve it? And you can only find it by monitoring, and having a certification just makes it quite easy to have these numbers.
Yeah, that's a great point about measurement, and that it's about part of your management. And I think that in itself can also be considered a benefit for making your business operations a little bit more efficient. But maybe related to this question, Fabio, and also there's a question, because I think that was a really good point from Ben about sort of the stepwise approach, right? Everyone can get started now, maybe with one of these initiatives. So the question I think this is exactly what GreenStay does to help companies make progress. So maybe would you like to address that a little bit from the GreenStay perspective, and also this question on the professional level?
For sure. No, I think HRS is in the, let's say, in an interesting position where we have to listen to our customers, of course, but also we have to have this conversation with the hotel suppliers, our hotel partners. And we didn't want to just create a solution where we would ask Ben, hey, do you have a certification? Yes, no, and that's it, right? We actually wanted to go deeper in this discussion and really collect property level data to be able to steer our customers in the right direction, let's say, but also offer, let's say, the possibility for hotel partners that haven't yet started in this journey to have a platform where you learn how to go through a process to self-evaluate, and then you have the transparency, no? So you cannot change what you're not measuring in that sense. So our idea is to always provide not only this accessible tool to start your journey, but also support along the way. And that support means, for example, during the RFPs to have clarity on what our customers are requesting, or have the knowledge hub, for example, and have this kind of conversation that we are having right now. And really, for example, share the insights that we are seeing then with the data, because we rely on our partners, right, to be part of the GreenStay initiative, and obviously we want to also give something in return. So it's something that we can always all together collaborate and understand where things are heading. So I think that is an interesting decision that we made back then, that we had a clear demand to, well, we need a solution, but not try to do let's say, the easy thing to just look at what's already available there, but really open this opportunity to collaborate with the industry, collect data, and learn from the data. And in that sense, of course, we collect if you have a certification, but also we collect more granular data, right? And something, just to finish, that I was doing some analysis on our database, we collect on the qualitative assessment, for example, criteria on whether you are communicating things to your guests related to the sustainability policy you have in place. And we correlated the footprint assessment performance with those criteria, and we saw that the hotels that engage the least with the guests are the ones that are actually performing the worst in footprint assessment also. So the more you engage your guests, as we are seeing then, or put the guests in the center, the better, of course, to design the solutions. And I think what you showed, Ben, is a fantastic example of the project, no regrowing. It's a great example of putting the guests in the center, and this is what we wanted, no, to learn from this kind of experience.
Excellent. Thank you. So I just wanted to mention there was another question. Thank you, Ben, for addressing one. The other one is we will be able to follow up. I will make sure to maybe connect by email because I happen to know her, the question. And
Yeah.
Anna, thank you so much for the great comment. Really, really happy to hear this has been inspiring to another hotel business. And just as a quick note to wrap up, as mentioned, this recording and the slides will be available to those who register to this webinar. So please look out for another email from HRS Greenstay. And for those of you who are part of HRS hotel partners, you will also have access to the Knowledge Hub, as you hopefully already know. If not, please ask about it. The email provided earlier for Greenstay, and you will also be able to locate the recording shortly afterwards on Knowledge Hub. And we look forward to continuing to add content to help you with your sustainability journey. And with that, on behalf of all of us, thank you, Fabio, Xavier, and Ben, for this great discussion and conversation that we had today, and for helping us inspire more hotels to become part of what we're all working together on. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. And yeah, have a great evening or rest of the day, wherever you are.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.